There we go. Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you doing? Hope everyone is well. Just trying to fire something up here. Sorry. Tamoya, good to see you, man.
Hello.
Rudy.
Oops.
Glad everyone could join me this evening. Join us. Just joining my backup computer here, just in case we have technical difficulties. All right. Too many computers. So how's work going for you, Tamoya?
Oh, can you hear me?
Busy?
I think there's a, I don't know, audio issue.
Border issue?
Yeah, I couldn't hear it through my headphones.
Oh. Okay, hang on. So are you still working? You still working in Markham area? Tamoya? Okay, sorry here. Can you guys hear me okay? Give a thumbs up or something in the chat. Hey, Emily, how's it going?
Good, actually. I got a new laptop because the previous one that I have was like leaving me. So it's good if I can have some recommendation. I got an Acer. Which Acer was that?
I'm about to find out.
I'll tell you. I'll put it in the chat. You can tell me if you have any reference, if it's good or not. How about you guys?
Hanging in there. Hanging in there.
How's work?
Busy. Yeah, always lots of things breaking, which is good. How about school? Are you almost done school?
I graduated.
Hey, congratulations. That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. You know what I'm doing recently? Like so there's this new language which is Kaboom.js, which makes video games. So I wanted to build a portfolio, but instead of a boring website scrolling, I wanted to do that Mario game. But instead of Mario, I'm going to put Zelda because I'm a girl. And then instead of shooting bullets, I was going to shoot like HTML, CSS, like all the knowledge. I think if for a recruiter, it could be fun because he's playing, but I don't know. That's what's going through my mind.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds ambitious. It sounds fun. So
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. We, when I was in college, hey, Sean, we had to program something in Flash. So that tells you how long ago that was. And I had a friend and he made it was almost like Leaper Frog in Flash. And I mean, he made it his own. So it was off the wall, amazing. But all right, this evening, everybody, we're going to be doing Python. I hope everyone's okay with that. And Sean was kind enough to join me for the last one. So we're chewing through scientific computing with Python curriculum. And we've gone through quite a bit. We can either do that or we can do another curriculum. I'll just move this out of the way. So we can do the scientific computing with Python, or we can do data analysis with Python. or we can do machine learning with Python. So Emily, I don't know if you're able to make a poll, but if you have that power, maybe we could pick those three. If Acer Inspire 5, anyone know anything? I mean, as long as it's got enough memory and enough storage, I guess it'll do the trick. I used to get this question.
So you want me to take the Python and then which one?
Yeah, so if we could do a poll. So if everybody wants to do this one this evening, data analysis or machine learning, and we could start chewing through the curriculum and work through it together.
Thank you.
Just as an excuse to Python it out. So do you have the power to do a poll, or should I do it?
No, I don't think I can. 1 second. No, I can't.
Okay. So let me edit the poll here. Three hours. Well, I'll just do a quick vote. So who wants to do, I don't know what the hell I just did here. Who wants to do the computing? So arrays of hands, or just say something in the chat. Going once, going twice, scientific computing with Python. Yes.
I'm going with Python.
You're going with
Which one is beginner friendly?
You want that one as well, Tomoya, or
Which one is beginner friendly?
big enough rendering?
Yeah, which one, I'd like to know which one is beginner friendly. Like I might forget some syntax.
Oh, the syntax for
Like how to write maybe look in Python.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So let's stick with this one. So me and Sean chew through some of the basics. The introduction, most of these will have like a little video clip of a gentleman explaining, I think he's a college professor down in Michigan, explaining the concepts of hardware and why Python, and basically going through even basic things like what's a variable. So I think if we just jump into it, you'll get the gist of the basic syntax. It's not a hard language to pick up. Once you see a few examples, it's just like anything else. So we'll do this one here. Like I said, most of them have a video. We can try the example first, and then if we're still confused, we can watch the video. Does that sound good to everybody? All right. So here's the problem we're going to try to tackle, which does the same thing as the following code. So we have list equals 0, so it's an empty list. And then for key value and counts dot items, new tup equals, I'm already getting lost here. So new tup equals value key list append new tup. So it looks like we initialize an empty list, and then we loop through count items, and then we are appending the value to this list here. So what would do the same as above? So the first one, print sorted. Because it says here the list equals sorted first reverse true. So I'm thinking A. Oh, Sean wants to do machine learning now. You're voting for machine learning. B, you're saying B. I'll just move this video up here at the top. All right, you say B. Let's see what we got here. Sorry, that's not the right one. Let's do the first one. Yeah, okay. It was the first one. So this chunk of code is the same as doing this one here. Now, how long is this video here?
12 minutes.
And can you guys hear the audio? Probably not. Okay.
Play it, let's see. No, maybe it's because of your headset.
Let's see here. Hang on. I probably forgot to share audio. Let me try that again. All right. Yep. Share sound. There we go. Optimize for video clip. Sure. Okay.
And so what we're going to produce is a list of tuples.
Can you guys hear that all right?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Here we go.
And then we're going to sort them, right? And so we can get a list of tuples from a dictionary, and then we can sort that list of tuples, and then we can end up sorting dictionary items by taking this two-step process. Convert dictionary to a list, sort the list, and then we can have sorted dictionary values, okay? And so we'll do this a couple of different times. So if we take a look at this code right here, we have our happy little dictionary, A, B, C, A maps to 10, B maps to 1, C maps to 20. Like, what are we going to get here? Well, it comes out, the mapping is the right way, but the order is whatever. And now we say this function called sorted, which takes inside a sequence and then returns us a sorted version of that, a list that's sorted. And so it says sort D items. So it's basically going to take this list and compare the A's and the C's and the B's. And because it's a dictionary and all the keys are unique, there's never going to be equality. So it really is going to just sort this by keys and never get to looking at the values. You could construct a list that had duplicate, you could make a list of tuples that had duplicates in the first, like we did before. But given that this is coming from a dictionary, the first thing is going to always be unique and distinct. And so if we say sorted D of items, that we're passing this stuff into sorted. Sorted is going to go around, move stuff around, and then give us back a sorted version, sorted in ascending order based on key, without looking at the value. And so that's a way to see dictionaries sorted by key, is just say sorted of D sub items, and sorted is a function, and so it just fixes stuff. And so this is the kind of loop that you're going to write to do that. You know, we did this before. We took sorted and we got these sorted by keys. And so you can just make this nice and simple for key value. By the way, you can eliminate the parentheses here. And I think it's prettier if you eliminate the parentheses, but you could put parentheses. This is still a tuple without the parentheses for key and value in sorted. So that says go through D items, but before I go through them, please sort them. So that means K is going to go through A, B, and C deterministically every single time it's going to go. And of course, value is going to go through the corresponding values. So now we can print this out nicely, sorted by key. And that's a real nice, succinct little way to say that. I mean, again, these are one of the kind of things that people really like about Python, is that you can do pretty powerful things with easy to understand. I mean, you might have seen this for the first time, but ultimately you look at that, eventually you're like, oh yeah, I see exactly what that's doing. Easy, not hard at all. So, but let's say we're looking for the most common word, which we have been for weeks and weeks and weeks now. And so we want to sort by values, not key. So this is an example of where we're going to construct a data structure. We're going to imagine a data structure, and then we're going to write code to construct the data structure, and then that's going to make our problem easy. So this is an example of using cleverly constructed data structures to do this. And the data structure that we're going to create is a list of tuples where the value is first and the key is second. So you can just with items get key value. I want value key. So let's take a look at this code. Take your time.
Does anybody know what a tuple is?
So sorry, you mean like skipping it?
Tuples. Tuples. I've heard this expression before. Does anyone know what a tuple is?
It's like a dictionary.
I don't know. Tuples. Tuples in Python. So a tuple is used to store multiple items of a single variable. So it almost sounds like a list.
And is it similar to an array?
It looks like it. But up here, it's interesting because he has this example here of a tuple with a key and a value. So this is where sometimes you'll get mixed up with the Python language, because sometimes there's no such thing as an array in Python. They'll say list or they'll say tuples. Python objects. Yeah, thank you. So this is the one hang up to. You'll be thinking of arrays, but you'll never come across the word arrays in Python. So if you see tuples or if you see something other than array, or object or list, it's still the same thing, right? It's still the same concept between JavaScript and Python, etc. They just use different languages. An array is multiple tuples, I think. Pandas has array. I think so.
And get it right. So KV goes in C items. Well, that is unsorted and going to go through whatever A, B, and C in whatever order. And we're going to make a new list. So this is a data structure that we're creating temporarily. And what we're going to do is this is a list. And we're going to append to that list a tuple. So this is going to be a list of tuples. Except we're not going to append them in key value order, we're going to flip them and append the first part of the tuple is going to be the value and the second part is going to be the key. So we end up with this. This is sort of our temporary data structure that we have constructed to make our job really easy. So this ends up being 10A, 22C, 1B. And we just kind of flipped them. We took this order and then we flipped them around. And so now we have this nice little list sitting in memory in a variable. And that's really simple. We can say, oh, look, we can use sorted. And we can sort by now the values because they're the first thing. I mean, the sorted doesn't know that they're how we produce this list. It just looks at that and says, oh, that's a list of tuples. I'm going to always sort by looking at the first item in any tuple. And I'm going to add reverse equals true so I get a descending sort. So I see that the value that is highest ends up being first. And so that changes this. And I'm just sort it and then reassign it back into temp. And I'll print this out, and so now you see it sorted in descending order of key. So it's value, key, value, key, value, key, but it's sorted in descending order, okay? And so that's an example sort of just like, you know, if I just made a data structure and I flip those things around, I could use sorted to sort these things. There's many other ways you could do it, but there's sort of like the more elegant way of doing it. And the clever bit here is like make a new list and make it be a little bit different, okay? So here we're going to print out the top 10 most common words in a file. And most of this code is review, so if we take a look at it, we're going to open a file. We're going to start a dictionary for our counting. We're going to, you know, there's going to be words and lines, right? And so we're going to have a for loop. This for loop is going to go through each line. And then, of course, we're going to split them, which is busting them into pieces. And then we have a for loop within that. And this for loop is going to go through each word. And so that means that by nesting these loops, we're going through each line. And then within the line, we're going through a word. Then we go to the next line, go through the words. And eventually, this line of code, count sub word equals counts.getWord 0 + 1, our idiom for making a histogram, right? This
I think this guy loves to do these football drawings, you know? And then you want to take this, it drives me crazy, you know? But
this line right here is an idiom. If you don't know already what that is, go back to the previous dictionary lecture and understand it, because you're just going to use it over and over again. So now at this point, and I always like drawing horizontal lines in code when we write it. At this point, coming through at this point, counts is right. Counts is the histogram. It's not sorted. So now we want to sort it. So we're going to make a new list. We're going to loop through key value, and then we're going to make a tuple. I'm making this be 2 lines to make it a little easier. Value key, so I'm flipping it, right? So I'm flipping the order of these things. That's making a tuple, and then I'm
all right. I think we're going to kill this to death here, and I don't want to lose everybody before we get started. But basically, he's just gone through the same stuff over and over again with different examples. For this particular example, we basically taken all of this code and put it in between these brackets, right? Essentially setting up an empty an array and then going through a loop and then sorting it. Technically, you could take all this code and slam it between these brackets. And I suspect he's going to show us that in one of the examples, but it was a lucky guess, Sean. So here we go. A is the winner. Let's go to the next one. Is Chris here? Oh my goodness, Chris. Good to see you, man. I can't see everyone's face, but I can see the names pop up here. So in this example, in this question, it says, which regular expression matches only the white space characters? And how long is this video?
Hello, and welcome to chapter 11.
Good Lord, 10 minutes. So Sean says B. Do we have any other guesses? I would say B too myself. B, we got a guess for B.
May I ask why B and not A?
Okay, we got 3 votes for B.
Oh,
I suspect, and I'm just taking a guess out here, that it's just the default of a lowercase s.
mm-hmm.
It could be A, but
No,
I think
I'm just wondering because I'm very new to Python, so
yeah, fair enough. Regular expressions are also, I mean, heck, we could even regular expression in Python. There we go. This is exactly what we're looking for, cheat sheet. So are you familiar with regular expressions in like JavaScript and all that?
I haven't done regular expression in JavaScript.
Okay, so regular expressions are very helpful. I still have to reference stuff like this, but basically it's a way of saying if you want to look for like alphanumeric data places and stuff. So you can see right here, it's lowercase s says 1 white space. Okay. This says 1 non-white spaces. And Tomoya says they're all the same in all languages. It could be very well. I mean, we could even just check here. JavaScript cheat sheet. Oh, sorry. That just says JavaScript. To actually put something in there. Regular expression syntax, sure. So let's see if it's the same.
Oh,
So yeah, there you go. I think Tamoya's on the right track here. So little s matches a white space character. Uppercase S matches single character other than a white space. So definitely for this one, answer A would be wrong. I think it's B. Boom. Gold points to you, Tamoya. All right. So here's this one. What will the following program print? So we're importing re. I have no idea what re means.
Regular expression.
Regular expression, thank you. Okay, so S equals this string here. It looks like he's trying to, if I suspect, he's trying to parse out, parse meaning pull out, the email address here. So if S is that long string and list equals regular expression, find all, geez Louise. All right, help me translate this, everybody. / anything other than a white space plus the @. Geez Louise, I have no idea. A, we got to vote for A. This is interesting. So we have, I see 3 @. So I see one here, and one here. Going back to the // what does the // mean?
I think that's just you're escaping the special character. I'm wondering if that's due to it being in a Python string.
Okay.
So that you can provide the string as a with the /s character.
How long is this video here? I'm scared.
Sean said find
So now we're going.
all with no white space.
Find all with no white spaces. Maybe that would make sense. I think because there's no white spaces for these 2 email addresses, where this one has a white space in front. I don't know. Does everybody want to watch the video on fast forward? Technically, if we put in double time, it'll only be 4 minutes. Sure. All right. Rudy gave us a nice little link here. I'm going to open it up. Python regular expressions. Thank you, Rudy. Oh, wow. This looks like it goes through it all. Nice. Email example here. Very similar. Suppose you want to find all the email address inside a string, such and such purple monkey. We'll use this as a running example to demonstrate more regular expression features. Here's an attempt to using the pattern. Geez Louise. All right. I don't think anybody wants to see me read. We'll watch the video real quick here.
We're going to move from merely matching to matching and extracting. So we're going to say, hey, I would like to not only have you take this template, this little pattern, the string pattern, regular expression pattern, run it across the line. I want you to give me all the ones that match, and I want a list of those. And that's what we're going to use the find all. So search gives a true false. Find all gives a list of all the strings that match. So if there's 4 of them, you'll get 4 things in the list. If there's nothing that matches, you'll get an empty list. So let's take a look at what we got going here. So instead of calling search, we call find all. We still pass in the string that we're looking through, and then we have our little template pattern. And this is a new bit of regular expression. Any little bracket operation, square bracket, is 1 character. That's just a character, but then there in between here is a set of allowed characters. So 0-9 means a single digit, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. But that's really 1 character. And then we have, so that's 1 character. And then the plus applies to that, which means if we look at this whole thing says 1 or more digits. That's the code we write in a regular expression that says 1 or more digits. And we're just going to use that in our regular expression by itself. So we're going to look for any string that's 1 or more digits and pull it out and give it back to me. So it's going to look. So that's my little template, stamp, 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 stamp. Oop, got it, stamp, 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 oh, got it, stamp, 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 got it. So what we get back after we ask find all to find all of the 1 or more digit strings is 2, 9, and 42. So it actually parsed it, it split it, it found all these things and said, I found them all for you, and here they are, 2, 19, and 42. So it's a list of 3 strings because that's how many it found. Now it might have found none, and we've got an empty list at that point, but it found some. Okay, so just as an example, you know, we did this thing, we get 2, 19, and 42, but if I said this, that basically is an uppercase vowel, A, E, I, O, or U, so that's 1 letter, and that's 1 or more. So it's saying, you know, something like A would match, E, I would match, O would match. But if you look now, it's saying, okay, I'm looking for 1 or more, minimum 1 or more uppercase. A, E, I, O, U is a set of characters, 1 or more uppercase letters. And so it's like, look, you find, oh, there's an uppercase, but it's an M, no uppercase, no uppercase, no uppercase, no uppercase. Found nothing, did not find anything, and so it gives us back an empty list. And so it's like, find all the things that match this, and the answer is none match, here's your list of nothing. Okay, and so you have to check, that's how you have to check even if you got something, because it's not going to return you false, it returns you a list with no items in it. Now, the way it works, like I said, it sort of is taking this template and stamping it across the line, stamping across the characters. Now, there's a behavior that might not be intuitive to you at the very beginning, but the notion of what we call greedy matching, and that is when it can match more than one possible string, overlapping string, it chooses the largest of the overlapping strings. And so the easiest way to show this with an example, and we're saying, I want something that starts with an F with 1 or more characters and ends with a colon. So that's my little stamp, that's my template. So it starts with an F, good, that's good. 1 or more characters, have a colon. So that could be from colon. That would match. But look, I've got another colon here, and this is just continuing on with 1 or more characters and this. So the question is, do we get this or do we get this part, right? And the answer is, with greedy matching, is we get the larger of the two. Okay, and so what you get back is somewhat counterintuitive. You get the whole thing as the match from colon using the.
Okay, sorry. So the S would be, thank you for the documentation, very useful. Yes, that was a good link, Rudy. So lowercase s obviously means, it means matches a single white space. I'm so confused with the / there. And Chris, you think that's an?
I think I have an answer. So in one of the references, there was an R before the single quoted string, and you notice that that string inside you didn't have the // versus what we're seeing, we have the // So what I'm thinking is the string with the double slash. The first slash is a Python special character, right? So you're escaping the escape character because in the regular expression we want to finally have a / capital S. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. Whereas and I remember seeing in one of the links there was another instance where it was an R single quote / capital S. So there's a couple different. I think there's a couple different conventions for passing regular expression strings to the find all function.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that's where the double slash is simply, that's not a regular expression thing. It's a Python thing to pass the string into the find all function, so that in the end you have / capital S plus @ / capital S plus. So that's the result after the string stuff with Python, I think.
So what's Rudy saying here? So
it's my guess. Now, I see something a bit different here on his video.
Yeah,
maybe there is something, but my guess is that with the example below, it's you're escaping the /s.
There's definition in the chat.
Yeah. Okay. So inhibits specialness of a character. So for example, use / to match the period, or / to match a slash. If you're unsure if a character has special meaning, use the @. You can put a / in front of it to make sure it is treated as just as a character. Whoa. Okay. So what's the vote here?
An expression definition.
Okay. Do we want to put a guess in? Do we think it's A, B, C, or D?
I'll put A.
You're gonna put A?
Yeah. A. I think it's A. Yeah.
Okay. I'm skeptical. I think it might be C.
And it could, if it's a trick question, and that would just be due to the @ symbol throwing a wrench in things. But
let's see what we got. It was A. and I have no idea why it was saying.
Oh, do you want me to attempt an explanation here?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So my attempted, now not a regular expression guru at all. Okay. So assume that we're just dealing with a /s here as opposed to a double slash, right?
Yeah.
So the /s plus, that's the greedy piece that he was saying. It's basically match as many non-white space characters you can until you get to an @ symbol, right? Then after that, we want to match all the non-white space characters as we can.
Okay, so that makes sense. So so match until you hit an @ sign and then keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
And then same thing.
Right.
But it's not going to do it at 2 p.m. because there's nothing in front of the @ symbol.
Right, because we have the plus,
Gotcha.
the plus sign, which is the greedy angle. So the one or more, I guess, is another one of the other links that had popped up. It was the plus was a one or more, so it's one or more non-white space characters in front would be a match.
Just seeing if I can fast forward to. I encourage everyone to actually watch these videos in full rather than how I'm doing it. But look at this guy; he's showing off the gun show. What's going on? I don't get it. All right, so I like your explanation, Chris. Yeah, that makes sense. Like do a kind of a greedy find until you hit an @ sign and then keep going. And it won't do this one because there's nothing in front of that @ sign. That makes sense, right? Are we in agreement to that? Yes. Yes. All right. Oh, regular expressions again. All right. So what will search for a $sign in a regular expression? Will it be $? Will it be /$ or will it be /$? $/ seems, I suspect.
Well, is the $sign the beginning of a string? Is it the beginning of the? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, this is a separate question here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's just, how do you find a $$ character?
One would hope, yeah. One would hope it's the escaping it.
Do we see it in our little cheat sheet here? I don't see any symbols here. Oh, there it is right there. End of string. So just $ by itself that you're looking for end of string. So I guess, yeah, you do have to do the, I think it's C. Let's go for it. Bing. Nicely done, everybody. All right, we're chewing through this curriculum here. Okay, what Python library gives you access to TCP sockets? I have no idea. I'll just be guessing here. I'm seeing like in blurry language here, sockets.
Welcome to Network Programs. This is Chapter 12.
This is like a question of like, how do you
Now we're going to learn a little bit about how we talk to resources on the network using Python. Now, this is a really quick introduction to how the network really works. I have a whole book that I wrote. It's also translated into Spanish on how the network works, starting at the very lowest layer, packets and everything, right on up. And it's actually really easy to read. I wrote it for a high school audience. It's a short book and pretty easy to read. So if you read that book, you will understand that there is this layered architecture, the TCP architecture that sort of runs our network. At the lowest layer, on one side here, this is your computer and this is a server computer. And if you sort of want a web page, it goes across the network, does this like 15 or 20 times, then it goes up into the server, reads the data, and then the data comes back, 15, 20 hops for the packets, and then it's shown to you as what you see. And so that's how it works. And there's these layers that we're not going to talk about in this section, but I talk about in that book. The layers of the link layer, which talk about how to get over one hop, the internet layer, which talks about how to construct, say, 15 or so hops to get packets back and forth. That's the sort of lower level bits. We're going to start at what we call the transport layer, and that's the layer where your computer sort of assumes that it can make a phone call to another computer in the process running on a program on this computer, talks to a program on this computer, and then it kind of comes back. Okay, and so we're gonna leave this alone. We're going to ignore it. We're going to assume that there's this nice reliable pipe that's going from point A to point B, and what are we going to do with the pipe? But if you're interested, take a look at the book. So we're just going to start with the pipe, some kind of connection. We have two processes, process, and we have some kind of connection between them. And it is a connection that we can both use to talk and to listen. In nerd terms, we call these things sockets, and that is one process running on one computer, another process running on one computer, another second computer connected through the internet somehow, and one computer speaks into that socket and it comes out, and the other computer returns something and it comes. And so this is a bidirectional protocol of data, which is a series of, in effect, data phone calls between applications. So the application might be on your side, this might be your browser, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer. On the other side, this is a web server. might be Internet IIS, Internet something from Microsoft, or Apache, or Java Tomcat. There's another program, and you are making phone calls between these programs. Now, in general, these servers here stay up all the time, and you sort of just can make a request when you feel like it on in your program. But that's what we're going to do. And this is what we call a socket. So that little connection, that phone call, that data phone call, is what we call a socket. Now,
so I'm just going to take a guess here. You think it's going to be sockets? I think it's going to be B, I think. Although TCP, Rudy thinks it's TCP. That actually does make sense because socket is just kind of a component and TCP is more of the whole thing.
You have to decide which of the systems you're going to talk to and then which of the services on those systems or which process. And so we have this concept called port numbers, and they're best thought of like extensions on phones. So one organization has one phone number and it says, please enter the extension of the party you'd like to talk to. Well, that's kind of what ports are. They're like, I'm a server and I'm connected to the internet. Please enter the extension of the process that you would like to talk to. And so, for example, there might be processes running on various computers. And so the email is known to hang out on port 25 or extension 25. Insecure login lives on port 23. Insecure web lives on 80. Insecure web lives on 443. And there's a couple of different protocols. Say if you have your mail stored on Gmail and you have a local mail client, say like Thunderbird or Apple Mail, that talks a protocol to pull that mail across. And those live on various ports. So these ports are those extensions. And by convention, we have standards that tell us what to roughly expect at those ports. So when you're talking to port 80, you expect to talk to a web server or an HTTP server. If you're talking on port 23, you expect to talk to a telnet server, and on and on and on and on. And so these are the extensions, the typical, commonly used default extensions for various network application processes that are serving us data. Now, sometimes you'll go to a URL and you'll see in that URL there's a colon and a number. That means it's a web server that's running on a port other than the official 80 or 443 port. Now, in Python, we can talk to these sockets, right? We can.
Oh, there it is right there. All right. So you import socket, then there you go. He eventually gives it up. He has to go through all of his football drawings first before he does. All right, what type of HTTP request is usually used to access a website? Access. I would think it's GET, is it not?
Yeah, that'd be my guess. You want to access it initially?
Same.
Yeah.
Same. Okay. We're all on the same page, more or less. Boom. We know what we're talking about. Okay. Write a web browser. What does the following code create? The title of this lesson is Write a Web Browser, and then the question is, what does this code do? You know, I think it's to make a web browser myself. But, let's pretend it's not as easy as that. So we import a socket. We say my sock equals socket. I assume this is the parameters for making a socket. Sure. Then we connect to some URL, port 80. Okay, sure. The command is get Romeo. Is that you, Rudy? Did you write this? It's not Romeo, it's Romero, sorry. So we do a get, and then we encode it. And so then this is my sock send command. So while true, data receive is 821. If the length of data is less than 1, get out of the loop. Print data decode equals n. I think it's a
Yeah, it's a browser because you're actually accessing an external website at this particular piece.
You're encoding it.
Yeah, with the encoding. Right. So here's that you're connecting to port 80, and then the command you're sending to that TCP socket that you've created is this command. And then you're receiving 512 bytes probably at a time. And once you've received all of these bytes, when you're not receiving any more, you print it out.
So Rudy has a good question. It's kind of what I was thinking too, is why wouldn't this be a web server? Because we do see this in coding sometimes, right? We make a backend server. I would almost say it's not a web server because it's not listening, right? All the time. It's basically, it's grabbing some code and it's going through a loop until it reaches the end, right? Whereas a web server, you would set a connection up and almost have it like it's always listening. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. And I think they gave us the answer before by calling the challenge write a web browser, but You never used Python, Rudy? You had me thinking you're a pro star. It's yeah, you know what? I played with it a little bit, but it's literally one of those languages that I'm using Google as well, you know, as we go. So Sean remembers we had a little discussion last meeting about this, and maybe somebody can justify UTF. Does anyone? Yeah, it's UTF-8 exactly. Does anyone know what UTF stands for?
I forgot. I just know it comes with
My guess is universal text file, but that's wrong.
Google.
UTF, Google. Unicode Transformation
format.
Gosh, it's so intuitive. We should have known that, right?
Yeah.
So Unicode, I didn't do a good job explaining this to Sean. I'll try it again. Basically, it's a way of transforming to different languages. So Unicode is very popular for multi-character languages and et cetera, et cetera. So UTF-8 is designated, I think, for everything. Like I don't like this question because it's saying, what are most websites used? I know UTF /8 is usually for English, but
I was going to say I use it very often. Well, I just see it in HTML, but I was like, maybe I'm just confusing people.
And I wish I had oh, here it is right here. Let's go to Wikipedia. This will do a better job. So UTF-8 is a variable width character encoding used for electronic communication defined by the Unicode standard. Sure. UTF-8 is capable of encoding 1 million-ish characters. So it has nothing to do with English.
Well, here's a practical reason why if the three choices are UTF-8, UTF-16 versus UTF-32, the practical reason is 8 bytes versus 16 bytes is preferable for saving bandwidth, I assume.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Does anybody else got a good another explanation? So this is the code layout for UTF-8. It looks like it's predominantly the English language here. What would UTF-16 look like?
That has all of the characters.
All of the characters.
And when I say that, sort of, yeah, like the internet you speak, it's all of the characters. That's just
okay. So you're saying it's for about efficiency of having a smaller, just here's your default set, more or less.
Yeah, and with 8 bits, you have a significant amount of things that you can send over, including emojis, but it's not like everything, including like the entire Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try it. Bang. All right. There we go. Okay. I want to articulate UTF one day, just from memory, and know that it stands for what again? Unicode Transformation. Okay.
It's a bit of an aside, but have you guys heard of that? And I think it's related to Unicode and stuff. That coding hack that was basically change. There's a special. I think there's like an equivalent of a special character which allows you to change the order that your characters appear.
Oh wow!
And the hack was basically you're able to make some programming, for instance, look like one thing, but it actually executes it or it compiles as something completely different.
Oh,
know what I mean? Because maybe the dash or your comment piece has been moved from one place to the other, so your comment really isn't a comment.
Tamaya is asking, is it
What does RTL stand for? French?
I can read French.
You can?
Realtek integration circuit? Yeah, no, that's not. Yeah.
I think it's the right to left.
Right to left. That's right. Yeah.
Right to left. I
Yeah,
see.
that's
I see.
it. So it's the right
okay,
to
okay.
yeah, it's the right to left shenanigans that you can play with. So it formats. Yeah, good one, Tamaya. So yeah, it formats some stuff to the right and then other stuff to the left, and based on those shenanigans, say you're looking at your GitHub code that somebody checked in, and you're like, oh, that looks okay, and then but it really isn't because of the. Anyway, sorry to derail. It was an interesting aside related to Unicode.
Absolutely. All right. Next one. This one's called using URL live in Python. So what will the output for the following code be like? So we import the URL live request. fhand equals URL live request dot URL open. Then we provide a URL, and then for line in fhand, print decode and then strip. So just the contents of Romeo.txt, a header in the content of Romeo.txt, a header, a footer in the contents. One. So we got a vote for one, we got a vote for B.
I mean, here's the kicker is what does the strip function do in this case?
Excellent question. How long is this video? 5 minutes.
Okay, so now we're going to write a web browser again in Python, but it's going to even be shorter than what we did before. We did it in 10 lines using sockets. Now we're going to do it in 4 lines with URL lib. So URL lib really is just because the idea of opening a connection, sending a GET request, sending the new line, retrieving the stuff, breaking the headers out, doing all this stuff, that's so common, why not put it in a library to save ourselves some effort? So here's how we do it. We're going to read it in, right? We're going to import this library, so it's not part of, we had to import sockets before, but we're going to import URL lib now. And so this is really quite simple. It's like elegantly simple. You say URL lib, that's a library, that's part of a library, module within the library, and this is a function. So let's call URL open, and then give it the URL. Now that's a string, which it's going to encode automatically for us. So it's taking care of all kind of pretty things for us. It does the get, it does the encode. Look back at that previous code. That's kind of what URL lib is doing for us. Okay. Now what URL lib also does is it makes the connection, encodes the GET request, and then it actually retrieves, at this moment, it retrieves all the headers and keeps them for you for later. You can get the headers, but we're not going to see the headers. And it returns to you an object that looks pretty much like a file handle, because you can put this in for clause after the in. Now it's going to read.
So I think it's going to be A, strip. Okay, so Rudy already Googled it up here, I assume. Strip is an inbuilt function that returns a copy of the string with both the leading and trailing characters removed. Okay. So I think it's going to be A. I was actually curious what fhand was, but he said that. He said it was a file handler, right? So does anybody want to watch the rest of the video? But I think
no, that's fine.
All right. There we go. We're 61% done, everybody. Web scraping. Okay, this is fun. Yeah, you are, dude. Okay, so web scraping with Python. What Python library is used for parsing HTML documents and extracting data from HTML documents?
Okay, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt here because I've seen web scrape a little bit everywhere, but I don't know what that is. I know, like they were like scraping the web. I'm like, yeah, but you're not explaining what it is.
Do you want me to try to? I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll hack that
give
up.
her.
Yeah. So basically, say there's a web page somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a weather page, for instance, that shows the weather, but you want to capture that information so that you can put it in your database.
Like an API.
No, it's not even. It's more rudimentary. It's more hackish, I believe, than that. You're basically taking a web page, taking the data out of it, and figuring out how to get it, how to use it yourself. So scraping the web. It's not even accessing it via an API. Yeah. Somebody's published some information. Maybe they've been nice enough to put it in HTML tables for you, which makes it a whole lot easier. Right? And then you just scrape and then put it in, and then use it for how you want it.
Now, I don't know if some web pages, I assume Facebook has figured this out, but I mean, back in the day, I used to hear creepy stuff. People would, they would go through Facebook and they'd scrape everybody's personal information. So you would write a program and it would just go from it would go through a person's friend list. And so it would just scrape all their information and you'd build a database. And now you have a creepy database of all these people that you can do for nefarious purposes, right? So I assume some websites will make, if you look at, and I love the movie Social Network, where Mark Zuckerberg's character is, you know, before the panel, like, you know, you got in trouble at school for that hack, you know?
Oh,
And
I
he's
watched
like,
that movie, yeah.
and he's like, well, I did you guys a favor. And they're like, excuse me? And he's like, yeah, I basically showed you, I showed you how much, yeah. I showed you how much your websites suck, because basically his whole hack when he did that thing in college was exactly what we're talking about. He went through everyone's bio and he scraped all the girls' pictures, and like then he made a hot or not, right? It was just, it was nefarious. And so if you go to Facebook and you go to save an image, that's why you get this ridiculous long file name. It's not like Peter's biopic dot, you know, one. It's like this random generated. So it's almost impossible to scrape everyone's information. So that's a long segue. Yeah, Twitter bots.
No, I got
exactly.
it. I got it like 110%. Thanks. Especially with the Facebook thing. I'm like, yeah.
Yep. That was exactly what Zuckerberg did back in the day. So, and I like the HTTP is the heading of this video. Does anybody want to take some wild guess before we dig into this? So
it's
what pipe?
For some reason, it's beautiful soup is sticking in my head for some reason. I don't know why. I have no rational reason to think that's the answer. None whatsoever.
You like see?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's the cold.
I would say it's HTTP parser just because it sounds
like you're parsing any information.
Yeah, but let's try C. Holy shit, Chris! How'd you do that?
That's like a random thing I heard like maybe like 5 years, 3, 4, 5.
So now
years
we're going to
ago,
talk about what you would do.
Okay, this is, I don't know how you did that.
That's just random stuff because I'm so old I can't remember stuff. And
here you go. This is the easy way. Beautiful soup. There you go. So you can get beautiful soup from crummy.com. I guess there you go. Wow, that's impressive, Chris. You had that on standby. Very impressive.
Maybe not genius. Maybe what do they call the savants?
All right. What are the most two common ways to send data over the internet? So I'm thinking it's JSON and XML. Yeah. Does everyone agree with that?
Well, I guess from a structured data point of view, that would be that'd be the answer.
Yeah, it's a little misleading because PHP is a computer language, so you're not really sending data over. You're using PHP to send data over. Text, like JSON is everywhere, right? So JSON has to be part of the answer, and I think XML is more popular than text. So let's go for it. Bang! That was an easy one. What is wrong with the following XML? Okay. Does anyone want to take a guess? I think it's this section here. This is not enclosed right. Line 5?
Yeah, I agree.
1, 2,
it's not closed. So you need like an end tag on phone, or you need an end tag on phone.
Okay, so the answer is email tag is missing the closing tag. Email is missing closing tag.
C.
Is it C? C?
Phone tag is missing a closing tag, right? Just so it wraps everything.
No, it's an easy one. All right, holy shnikes, what is XSD? Is this for this one, Tomoya? Extendable situational driver?
No idea.
It's the first one. It's a schema.
Sure?
Extensible schema definition, I believe. I've never used it, but it's just, so it's
XML.
XML
oh my
schema
god.
Jeez,
You nailed
Chris.
it.
If ever a trivia night I'm calling you up.
On
here.
this stuff, yeah, other stuff, good luck.
So the XML language is also referred to as the XML schema definition. There you go. Wow, that's impressive.
And I think it's used, it's like to define what your XML is about. And I think you can use it to map one thing to another, you know, one XML type to another or whatever. More advanced stuff than I've ever dealt with.
Okay. So what will this code print? So we import JSON, we set up, I haven't seen this before. I've only seen that on GitHub when you want to post. Is that normal, the 3 quotes?
You're again, this is in a string escape. So what you're doing is you're starting the string with the first single quote. Then you're putting in a literal single quote there by escaping one, right?
Oh, so it's like you're wrapping a quote around quotes.
Yeah. So take a look at that first line, and then take a look at the very, very last line.
This one.
Yeah, and then
I see.
pretend you're not assigning it to a variable, and take 2 of those single quotes away, and then that's what that's sort of like the string that you're sending.
Okay.
And then since now you have a string with the single quotes wrapping it, loads is handling it as a string as opposed to.
I wish
yeah.
Like this would be more clear if I think some like highlighting syntax was on, because you would have some VS Code in that. I think they would kind of make this different color so it's easy to follow, I think. But anyways, so we got a few guesses here. A, Quincy, text ignore. Okay, you're just going through all of them, Sean. So this one says info equals JSON. So JSON loads data.
I'm going to say error.
You're going to say error?
I'm going to go out. I'm going to 0 because we're dealing with. Well, actually, here's the question. Python, is it a zero based array, or is it a 1 based array? I can't remember. I'm so used to using JavaScript with the 0 based arrays that I'd say error. But yeah, I could,
Me and Sean went through this the last meeting. It is 0 based.
Okay.
But here's the question though. Like, does that still mean like it's going to go to this record? Like, does that mean anything, or is it going to be an error?
The angle brackets to me. Well, actually, I might be. This might be my non-Python or. Well, okay. Wait a second. We're JSON, so we're actually in JavaScript. So, yeah. Okay, I'm wrong.
It's either going to be this or error.
Yeah. No, okay. it's going to be Murgesh, isn't it? Because we're dealing with 0 based array. Yeah.
Just for those that don't know, because I've kind of volunteered here and there for freeCodeCamp. So Quincy is the founder of freeCodeCamp, and Murgesh is like one of his second in command. So it's kind of funny that when you go through the curriculum, you see these names. These are actual people that made this website, so they get their little credit. So it is referencing that second record, even though it's 1. So it's always misleading when you see 1. We always assume, okay, it's going to do the first record, but you're right. Everything starts on 0. Most languages, it's always 0, then 1. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yeah, and I got messed up with the square brackets, thinking that was 1, right? And it isn't. That's a list, right, and everything inside, right? Then, yeah, I understand.
Okay. So with the service-oriented approach in developing web apps, where is the data located? So this isn't a coding question. This is a systems question. So spread across with a services-oriented approach, developing web apps. So that's almost like microservices. I think this question is referring to. different services on the main web server on a separate database. I don't know. That seems kind of like it's not a clear question, in my opinion. Has anyone got like?
No, I agree. Now, with services oriented, I guess you're separating pieces out. The data
Sean says,
here's where you could argue that it's a service. Does it? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's angling about. You might want to go with database server, but if it's data, it doesn't necessarily need to be in a database server, strictly speaking, I guess.
Okay. How long is the video? 2 minutes.
So the service-oriented approach is a way we approach solving a complex application problem where all the data really isn't present in one computer system. It's somehow spread out over the internet, connected via the internet or internal network. And so the idea is that some applications just can't contain everything. The perfect example is a travel website that can book you a flight, book you a car, buy tickets, book you a hotel, and do all these things. Well, that travel website is neither a hotel nor a rental car company nor an airline. But what it really does is it talks to all these services somewhere else on the web on your behalf, and it makes reservations for you. And so you have this convenient user interface that says, oh, here's your whole vacation. I'm going to figure all this stuff out. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. It was a weird question, but yeah, I think he's talking about different services. So yeah. APIs. So this is a little bit more specific. So what does API stand for?
C.
C. You don't think it's portable intelligence, or? Yeah, that's a basic question. For everybody here, we know what APIs are, right? Yay, nay? Does anybody? Yes. Sean, do you know what an API is? I'm not even going to ask you, Tamaya. You probably have made a few, sort of. Okay, so an API is basically some websites will actually allow access to their services. So like for some tutorials, you can do something like Google Books API. So here we go. So Google actually has a whole API just dedicated for books. So they give you an example of how to use their API. I mean, you can go through, you can look at different coding examples. I think, I'll see if I can log into my GitHub.
Can I try to explain?
Go for it.
Okay, so the first time I came across API was in my JavaScript class, and we were building an app for weather. So when you're building that app, it's supposed to display weather in Barrie. But how are you going to get that weather information? You can't, you can, but you don't have it. But other sources have it. For example, like Paul said, there's Google. So Google have the information, and then you have to take that information from Google and display it in your app. And the way you do it is through an API. And Google have a lot of like APIs. You can just like take the code and plug it into your code editor. And this is what, yeah.
All right, cool. So I think Rudy has one. I had one here that I made like quite some time ago, and I was with that Books API that I showed. And basically, I just wrapped up the API with some very rudimentary HTML. And so you type in whatever you're looking for, and then this is what that just spits you out, almost like a little Amazon kind of whatever, right? So API is an application programming interface. It's like websites adding a backdoor. So let's check out Rudy's. I like looking at other people's.
But it's not strictly that. It's like in the olden days before before the web, I guess, took off. It's sort of like if you have a DLL or a Windows DLL or something like that, sometimes there would be some hooks that were effectively published that you could access. So it's not strictly just a web thing. It could be an API into maybe even a DLL or something like that, or some sort of program, just one program communicating with another in some way.
Very impressive, Rudy. So you made an API using the weather. So Oh my God, it just it just talked to me. Can you hear that, everybody?
No, I didn't. Do it again.
And maybe it's just coming through my headphones.
I guess.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So yeah, Rudy basically he used it looks like a weather API to tell me what the weather was like in my location. So yeah, don't get my credit card information. We remember that night. It wasn't my credit card, but it looked like it. So yeah, I think we all know what an API is. Basically, it's a way of accessing information, right? Are we in agreement with that? That's a decent explanation.
Yeah, maybe a way of utilizing another program's logic or whatever, in a sense, because it's more than just like the web. The web APIs are out there, but there's historically other ways of.
Here's another one too. That I made for, and it was the same idea. They basically, it was for Chingu. I mean, we had the founder the other day. Oh, of course, this one's broken. But they had us do things like make book examples, and this one is supposed to show me meteorite information, but it doesn't look like it's working right now. But it's basically, it was all like build an application around the API. So they provided you the API. And the API pulled all the data, but then you had to make a website for that API. And that's what a lot of websites seem to be now, is that you have a database, you have APIs passing that information around, and then you have HTML to present the information. No meteorite availables. Yeah. I don't know why that's broken. All right, we've killed that one to death, I think. Web services G. I don't know what that's all about. Okay. When making a request from the Twitter API, what information must be always sent with the request? So Sean thinks Twitter username.
I think key.
I think it's key.
So it's the API key that goes with the.
I think you're absolutely right. Here we go. Yep, go ahead, Emily.
I was just going to ask a question, which is a bit weird because I just explained API. When I used it, it was mainly JSON. So is it because I was in JavaScript class, or is it the case for most APIs?
Whoa, gosh.
Here, let me tackle that. I guess it depends on the platform. Like there's different ways of communicating back and forth, right? If it's web based, maybe it is JSON is like the de facto way of sending things back and forth. So that would make sense. But it could be, I guess the question is is a web service that handles communicating XML back and forth, is that considered an API? And I think in a sense it is, because it's essentially a web function that you're calling.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've been on the side. I've been learning about GraphQL. Have any of you played with GraphQL? Tamoya?
No, I did SQL and JSON.
GraphQL, also invented by Facebook, some experience. So it's really interesting. If any of you have some time, just to see if you can find a video explaining GraphQL or explaining it. It is like, and this is, I feel like we're going into a whole other discussion here, but if you know what REST is, like REST, representational state transfer. So that's when we're used to going to a URL and doing those GET and POST requests. GraphQL is like REST on steroids. I can't even do it justice explaining it, but they have their own API as well. So it's not just, to answer your question, Emily, it's not just JSON, it's also different formats, right? It's basically data. The API is basically data.
I was just thinking about that because of the question.
Is it though? I don't know if it is. I think because it's an application programming interface, which means it's a way to call into it. One aspect is a way to call into functions for another thing. So it's not, and a lot of times getting data from something else is important. But if, for example, Twilio, right, where you're able to send something, calling into that, you're actually not getting data back. You're arguably sending something, but you're calling a function that gets another program to do something. Maybe that's return data. Maybe that's to send out a text message on your behalf.
You might be correct. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just learning GraphQL. It's like you can just see an example here of some code they're showing. But I thought the API was a little bit different, but you might be right. The API may still be in JSON format, but it's a different way of querying the information. I think we're going off topic here.
Sorry, I'm derailing everything.
No, I love these discussions.
Here's another API based on Graph in the link. Basically, it's Microsoft Office 365. It's called Graph API. Basically, it allows you to programmatically call in to basically anything Office 365.
Oh,
so
okay.
You could, right? So you can actually, if you look through this, you can use it to upload things to their SharePoint servers, download things that you want, actually share files to somebody else, and through that programming thing, it can send out the share notification to the person you're sharing the file with. So,
interesting. Okay.
And I mean, look, it's all JSON. There's all JSON, so you could craft JSON and send, but it's yeah.
I hear you. Okay, so our goal in the future is to master this graphing.
Sorry, again, I'm just a rogue unit here, causing problems.
I'm trying to just find an example for. So here's an example for a sample code for the. So I'm on the website for Twitter API, and we have a few things here. So in this example, it looks like they're trying to get information from a username, but I bet we'll see, boom, the token here. So bearer token, which is like the key, right? So if we go back to the question here, I don't think it's a username. I think it's a key, because a lot of APIs, you have to register a key. And I mean, that we could do it another night as a whole example. So Rudy, what is he saying? My weather API access current weather for any location on Earth, including over 200,000 cities, and the data is frequently updated based on global and local weather models, satellites, radars, and a vast network of. Are you a spokesperson for this? I tell you, it's very
the way he writes it, it's like, wow, it's like.
You should be in marketing if you're not already. That was some good copy you just gave us. So let me ask you a question, Rudy. For that example that we just looked at, I wonder if I still have your example up here. Maybe I closed it. Did you have to use a key? Did you have to register a key? Yes. Okay. So some APIs, they're not just going to let everyone just hack away. You have to register. You get a key for your email, and then sometimes it'll cap you off. So if you start running like 5 million API requests on their services, they'll be like, whoa, you have to pay our premium service. So a lot of people, and I'd be interested if you could share the API that you used to build that. But I remember a lot of people were having beef with Google Maps because they started capping people off, and you almost had to become, it was something ridiculous. You almost had to become like a small business and pay like $1,000 a year to have access like unlimited access to their map API. So to have like a Google Map API access, you really had to pay through the teeth, or they would like cap you off. So then that created a market opportunity for those other map. If you ever go to websites and you're like, why aren't they using Google Maps? That's why, is because they're at the startup level. So you'll see, I don't know, like not MapQuest, but there's a few other competitors out there that basically have their version of an API that's a little bit cheaper. Non-web API. Open weather map.
No, that's, sorry, out of order. That's I sent over the Win32 and C++ thing from Windows. So just an example of an API that's pretty much pre-hardcore internet.
Awesome. And thank you for reading. Yeah, openweather.org. That's the API you use. That's awesome. I'm going to play with that at some point. And what did Sean share? Arcus. So this is another. Oh, cool. Okay. So this is another API, I assume. And then they have pricing. Anytime I see a website with pricing, it's always.
That's why you web scrape. That's why you get like what's that beautiful soup, and then you scrape the internet for free.
Exactly. All right. A key. That was the answer. All right, moving on. So objects. This is objects. What is not true about objects in Python? Objects get created and used. Objects are bits of code and data. Objects hide detail. Objects are one of the 5 standard data types. I think objects get created and used. If I were to D, I think it's A. Does anybody?
Objects don't get created or used? Well, here, from a classic object-oriented programming, objects are the thing that are being, but classes are the thing that define things. I don't know if that's different in Python.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to say 3, but I don't know Python. I wouldn't take objects because, and again, I'm thinking Java and not Python, because you create objects and you create arrays, and then you objects and you store information in it, and you access it afterwards. So for me, it's like using it. But again, like I said, this is JavaScript, it's not Python.
Don't click yet. I think the answer is actually on the slide. The answer is on the slide.
Oh, is it? Objects
Oh, no, it isn't. It isn't. That's okay. So we know that C isn't the choice.
So Tamoya, and Sean, why are you guys going with B?
I don't know. I just thought.
You're just okay. Here's why I think it's A, and maybe I'm wrong, is that it's one of these silly trick questions, which is not true. So objects get created and used. I mean, if you create an object, you might use it, right? Everything is an object in Python, huh?
The best answer is Chris's guess.
Which is what?
I haven't guessed. I have no idea.
Tamoya said B. Oh, I want to go with A.
I want to hear Tamoya's explanation.
He said he was guessing, didn't he?
Oh.
I'm wondering if objects, what are the 5 standard data types in Python? So like, let's go through those first. Int, string, number.
Integer, floating point, character, string, Boolean.
Yeah.
So
wow, I don't see any object in there. Do you guys?
Yep.
No, so maybe that's
no. Wait. That's not Python specific though. But yeah,
numbers, string, list, tuple, dictionary. Well, now you got me extra confused.
Well, yeah. So with Python, you basically you have to define you define everything. It's not a basic data type. Like I guess when you're dealing with like C# and stuff, like object is just.
I feel like this is it. What? How long is this one? 10 minutes. My God, I don't have time for that. Okay. All right, let's use democracy here. What are we picking? Not that it
Now I'm
matters.
thinking D.
You're thinking D? All right. I say D too. Who else? What do we got votes? B. We got to vote for B. Tamoya, are you sticking a B?
Yeah.
You're sticking with B? Okay. 2 votes for B. Chris,
I
what is
gotta,
it?
yeah, I gotta go with D because I'm not, because it's Python as opposed to something else maybe, and just objects in Python may be considered a little bit different.
Rudy, what's your vote?
He said, yeah, I don't know. He just said tuple is like object.
All right. We're leaning towards D. Oh, it doesn't matter here. Let's swing for the fence. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh.
It's one of those silly trick questions. Yeah, maybe it's.
Well,
it's not
here's my
a standard.
rationale, because like numbers are pretty straightforward in Python. Strings, yeah. Lists, there's a specific way of defining them. Tuples, there's a specific way of defining them. And then dictionaries, there's a specific way of defining them. But with objects, don't you have to do like a class and you have to define that and then you can use it? I'm wondering if that's
right.
the rationale.
Yeah.
Classes and yeah, you're right. Classes and objects. Python is an object-oriented, which I think Rudy said, or someone said that. Almost everything in Python is an object with its properties and method. A class is like an object. What are objects in Python? An object is an instance of a class. There you go. So it's not a data type. It's an instance of a class. Class is like a blueprint, while an instance is a copy of the class with actual values. So it's not, object is not a standard. So this was, it wasn't one of the standard. That was a tricky one though. They were trying to stump us. All right. Nicely done, team. What will the following program print? So here's and the title of this one is Objects B. Okay, so this is a continuation of the discussion. So this is an example of a class. So a class of party animal, where it does a bunch of stuff. Okay, so an equals party animal, and then an accesses the method within party animal. Okay, so what will the following program print? So this is just assigning. This is actually calling this function. So so at first it's a 0. So this is self, geez Louise, +2 print 2, 2. Is it 2, 2, or does it keep the D? So we have votes for D.
Well, here's the question. I have some questions. Maybe this will help do it. So is and this is, I'm not really a Python guy. I haven't seen too much of it. Is the def party the equivalent of a constructor?
Okay,
I think it's just a function.
It's like a function.
Oh, it's just defining the function. Okay.
I think it's D.
And then itself, if you're passing the object itself, I assume is the parameter for party.
Okay, so here's my question. Okay, so this first one here, we're assigning, so we're making an object here. So this is an instance of this class, right? We agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
So x equals 0, but this one, it specifically calls party. So that means it skips here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think you guys are correct. It would be D. Now, if it was calling this whole class again, it would start at the beginning, right? And X would be 0 again. So you would go through here and then it would be 2. So if it was starting from the top, it would be 2, 2. But what you guys are saying, overwhelmingly, because Sean put in 2 Ds, not just 1 D. No, he put a B and a D.
Hedging.
He's hedging, yeah. It's a good bet. Is that because it's going directly to the function, it's going to keep the value of the previous run. but we're using an instance of the class. Exactly.
I have a joke related to Sean's output. If you want to hear it, it's lame
Go ahead.
but
Let's
relevant.
hear it.
Yeah. You see, notice how we use the capital D. I think in regular expressions doesn't mean it could be anything other than D. Is that did I get that right? That's a lame regex joke, I guess.
Too highbrow for me. Too highbrow.
Yeah.
Okay, but we're using an instance of a class. All right. I think you guys are correct. I think it's going to be D. Bang. You guys are top of the class. All right. Object lifecycle. And this video is
Now we're going to talk a little.
Okay. Before we use that as a last resort. So what will the following program print? So starting again a class here. It looks like we have two functions here. So this is where I
There's the
get
constructor. Okay, got it.
Where is it? This is a constructor. That's what you're saying?
Must be. What else can it?
Because it says constructed. Yeah, this is where I get tripped up because I've seen this underscore, especially in some Pythons, they have like a main, so it's underscore underscore main underscore underscore, and that's run before the other functions. So this is very unique. That double underscore is very unique to Python, I think. So let's just zoom down here. So there's only 3 questions or 3 answers. So it constructs itself is what you're saying. So x equals 0, name equals nothing. Then something's passed into self and name. So it'd be 0 and blank. So name would be nam. What's nam?
NAM is the NAM. So here's how I read it. So the init piece has 2 parameters. It's self, and I think with all of these internally defined functions, the object itself is always passed in as the first parameter. And then, so in party animal here, the object you're initializing is passed in, and then the first parameter Quincy would be mapped to nam when you're creating Q in this case.
So okay. So this will say self-name constructed, and then when does this get called? Like so here's
party gets called when it's actually accessed. So it's q.party is calling that party function.
So you're saying when we assign Q and M, this gets called?
Yeah.
And then you're saying down here when we do these, it's actually calling the function.
Just that, yeah.
So then what would the answer be? So in this case, so Q and M would be assigned. So Quincy and Mia. So I think C can be eliminated, right?
Right.
So it's Quincy constructed, Mia constructed, and then this one, Quincy party count 1, Mia. Okay, so it's why would?
So the first one might be saying party count 2, just because there's when you're calling, I think it's B. And that's because Q and M are separate objects. So when you call party on it, Q would be, so Q would be passed into self for the party function for the first one. M would be passed as self into the second one, and then Q would be passed into the party function for the third one.
So X is not shared between the 2 objects, right? So you're saying this is a separate object, that's a separate object. And so X will be only for Q, X will only be for M. That makes sense, right? Yeah, that's B. This is indicating the opposite, that X is shared among the 2 objects, which is incorrect. Correct? It's incorrect, correct? All right.
But it begs the
Boom.
question: how do you, is there a way of having a static type?
That's an advanced question, Chris.
What?
I'm
No,
waiting.
sorry.
It's a derail. It is a good question. Yeah. I don't know. That would be like a trickery question. I don't know how you could set that up. What is inheritance in? Okay, so who can Google faster? I'm going to close some tabs. Well, one of you Googles that. I think inheritance, you grab the functionality of a previous class, and then you can add on to it. That's what I think. C. Okay, an ability to create a new class by extending an existing class. I think you're right. C. I got 2 votes for C. Tamoya?
C.
C as well. Okay. Yep. Emily, thank you. Nice. Oh, flowcharts. Databases. What is not a primary data structure in a database? We have index, table, row, column. I think it's column.
I'm going to say
I'm
going to say index. Is what is an index? Like the data
Yeah.
is in tables, rows, and columns. The index is supplementary data to make searching the database faster.
I hate database, and I remember the few things I remember. It's always key, primary key, key this, key that, not really indexes.
Right. But your primary data, like that's, indexes are additional information storage that helps make accessing your existing data faster in some ways, or organizing that way.
You might be right. All right. You must be right. Look at that. So for those that don't know databases that well, and I'm in that category, index is something to help you access the index, but it's not necessarily a structure of the database. Or sorry, index helps you access the database, but it's not a structure of the database, essentially. I did say that right? Doesn't matter. We got it right. Okay. What SQL command would you use to retrieve all users that have the email address quincy@freecodecamp.org? /D for Chris.
What? Oh my goodness.
This is interesting. So I'm just going by the select all users where email. There's no such a thing as in SQL, is there? No.
What? Oh man, I should know this because I do databases a lot.
Yeah, I would have seen the 1, 2, 3.
Because we're dealing with a string here. I believe I have to Google this.
Select users or select?
I think it's like from users, like from the column or table.
No, it would have to be equal, I think.
This one?
Yeah, I think this one.
E. Tamoya saying E.
Because
I think
in is for multiple values.
Say again?
Is. Oh no, sorry, I'm messing up. Yeah, no, I'm messing up my SQL. My apologies.
E it was. Sorry, Sean and Rudy. Tamoya was right. SQL, it's one of those. It's one of those languages you almost have to come across one day. What is the best practice for how many times a piece of string data should be stored in a database? What is the best practice for how many times a piece of string data should be stored in a database? What kind of question is that?
You only store one copy, right? That's the ideal. Is you don't have duplication. You try to normalize. What is it? Database normalization, where you attempt to Oh, and it says right on the screen there, basic rule.
Oh.
Yeah. So
Databases continuing. What is a foreign key? A key that is not supposed to be there. Sounds aggressive. A key that uses non-Latin characters. Nope. A number that points to the primary key of an association row in a different table. A key that the real world.
The third one.
Jeez, databases continuing. What does insert command do in SQL? Well, I can only guess. Defines a new row by listing the fields we want to include. Defines a new column. It defines a new table by listing the rows.
I want to say C.
Tomato says A. We got C. We got a few votes for C. Okay.
no, it's good. It's gonna be A. Typically with this it's insert
Row?
A row.
blah, yeah, and then providing value. So it's that one, because it defines a new table. You would need to create the table.
Here you go. SQL asserts add new
yeah.
rows. We're almost done this course here. When using join clause in an SQL statement, what does on do? It indicates what table to perform the join on. It specifies the fields to use the join. Indicates how the two tables are to be joined.
This is tricky, like, because typically how I'm used to using the joins is this value equals the other, but I think it's actually indicates how the two tables are to be joined, because you can add in other things other than fields, right?
I think you're right.
Because it's a conditional within the on thing, right? So you could say, I want, okay, so where this key happens to equal this this other key, primary versus foreign, and this value is greater than 100, because that's
Artist. So he's got it right there. Yeah.
I like how everyone explained their train of thought. It's super interesting.
So in this little example, he has select tracks, et cetera, from track, join the genre, join the album, join the artist on. So the purple is how the tables are linked. So this one?
Yeah, I'd have to. Well, here's this is tricky. This is tricky because it's not strictly the fields. It specifies the fields to use for the join, but I think it indicates how the two tables are to be joined is more correct, because you're saying, okay, this has to equal this, but because there's a conditional here, it seems it's not illustrated here, but there's the possibility you could put in static values for that. We only want to join the tables if the name equals rock.
Should we cheat here? The on statement. You guys are all saying B, so I'm gonna have to roll the dice on B.
Yeah, I think it's. I would lean towards C, but that's.
I would say C too, but
if convention is B.
So it's not B. It was C. Indicates how the two tables are to be joined.
Because you might join a table by not equal to something as well, potentially. It's weird, but.
All right. Database is continuing. Good Lord. A lot of database work here for Python, which is an example of a many-to-many relationship. Teacher to student, no. Customer to order, yes. Book to pages, no. City to country. No. Customer to order.
Wait. So a teacher, they have lots of students, right?
How many teachers are there?
Yeah, that you don't. But a student could have like lots of teachers, different classes, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so customers can have multiple orders, obviously. But how many for a specific order? How many customers? Probably only one.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, eh? And then a book. Now this is where it gets a bit. Maybe it depends on how you parse it out. But a book has pages, but a page only has like a particular book, I guess. If depends on how you define page.
Chris, you're tweaking me out here.
Am I messing?
You're messing me. You're messing. I was so certain. I was like, it's B, obviously. But now I know you've walked me through uncertainty now. So we know what a one-to-many is, right? We have one-to-many, but a many-to-many. This is we're gonna have to vote on this. So what are we saying here? I thought it was B, but I'm not sure now. I wish they used plural. A. We got to vote for A.
I would say.
A. All right. Oh my goodness.
That was nasty though.
You're right. No, there's multiple teachers. It's not just a single teacher for a student. It's multiple teachers. Yeah, that makes sense. Not intuitive, but all right. Geodata. Okay. Most data needs to be blank before using it. Converted to JSON format, graphed, cleaned, memorized, turned into a song. Well, obviously it's turned into a song. Cleaned, yep. Good guess. I mean, good answer. It wasn't a guess, right? You guys knew what you were talking about. Page rank algorithm work. How does a page rank algorithm work? It determines which pages are mostly highly connected. It ranks based on view counts. It figures out which pages contain the most important content.
Wait. Okay, Les. Highly connected, I believe, is how it works, isn't it?
Oh.
Because this is PageRank is a Google specific thing, isn't it? And then I think it chooses the highest connections to determine what the rank is.
Quality links to page determine the rough estimate of how important it is. So you're right.
And then there's high, yeah.
Highly connected. It's either A or C. I don't like the way they worded it.
But C, it's basically how does it work? It doesn't match it. Well, maybe the AI ones that have supplanted PageRank magically know what the most important content is. But for PageRank, it determines it guesses what the most important content is by what people are connecting to the most.
Gotcha.
I think, and then yeah.
Yeah, watch the 59
what?
minute. No. Is it 59 minutes? Oh, it's 11. I remember, when somebody tried to explain how Google works, the founders, when they made it their PhD thesis, they basically treated it like an academic. Like they treated it like if it was academia. If you had a paper and a lot of people kept citing your work, obviously that paper is very relevant. So that's how they kind of created Google originally, is that if more links were going to a website, obviously that website has to be important, right? Now, everyone started to game the system. And so I think obviously they figured out how to stop the bullshit. Because a lot of people, I remember, if anyone remembers this, back in the day, you would go to a website and then there'd just be a poop ton of links. It would just be random garbage at the bottom of websites. And you would think, why are they doing this? It was because they were trying to game the system. They were trying to get higher in search engines. I mean, this is going back gosh, probably at least 18 years ago. So yeah, I think it's A. I think you're right, Chris. And there you are. You are right. Was Emily even born? I don't know, Emily. Were you even born 18 years ago?
18 years
she's
ago,
20.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I remember the first time I was in class and somebody showed me Google and I was like, whoa, where's the horoscopes? Where's your, it was just results. Yep. Okay. Not to date myself. Which is the common JavaScript visualization library? It's D3, is it not?
Well, that's on the code. Isn't that the CodeCamp thing that they when last they did the CodeCamp freeCodeCamp stuff? It's D3. D3 was the one that was.
It's right here. You can see
that
it.
You have that you have the.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I mean, let me just duplicate here.
I learned about D3 through freeCodeCamp.
You're absolutely right. The where's it? Data visualization, D3, right there. Data visualization. Excuse me. Yeah, I think you're right. Holy shnikes, we completed the course, everybody.
Why was the last Python course question a JavaScript graphic library question? I don't know.
Maybe it's for Python too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's. All right, so you'll be working on this project. So even though we finished the course, now we actually have to build a project. So you'll be working on this project. What's this project? So this is the boilerplate for this thing. Okay. I don't know if you guys want to get into this at 9 o'clock at night. Let's just see what, maybe we can do this as homework. This assignment, students in a primary school often arrange, still loading. Okay. I don't know what's happening here. So this is the markdown. This is the instructions. And then I guess if I hit play, it does something. So assignment, students in primary school often arrange arithmetic problems vertical to make them easier to solve. For example, this. Create a function that receives a list of strings that are arithmetic problems and returns the problems arranged vertical and side by side. The function should optionally take a second argument. When the second argument is set to true, the answers should be displayed. So for example, if we put 32 plus 698, and then this, and then that, and then this, you end up with this. If this is set, so you pass true as a second argument, then it actually gives you the answer. Huh, interesting, okay. It's a neat little program. Rules. The function will return the correct conversion if supplied the problems properly formatted. Otherwise, it will return a strings that describe an error that is useful to the user. If there are too many problems supplied to the function, the limit is 5. Oh, so they're giving us like little guardrails. Anything more will return too many problems. The appropriate operators the function will accept are addition and subtraction. So you do supply the operators, okay. Multiplication and division will return an error. So the error has to be, operator will be, must be plus or negative. Each number should contain digits, otherwise the function will return this. Each operand, aka number, on each side of the operator has a max of 4 digits in width. Otherwise, the error string will return. So it looks like it's just a bunch of errors one after another. If the user supplied the correct format of the problem, the conversion you will return will follow these rules. Should be a single space. Geez Louise. So this is pretty in-depth here. Copy the project's URL and submit to freeCodeCamp. So what if I run? It's going through. Okay, so it ran through and then it said name arrangement is not defined. Oh, okay, gang. So,
Oh, so let's go back to the markdown for a second.
right.
So I was thinking maybe like just a high level talk through this.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking, and obviously this is so what we've been through with the Python, we need to kind of use. So my thinking is, I wonder if we might use like regular expressions to parse the individual strings into 3 components, right? So the first value, the operator, and then the second value. And then what if in Python we define a an object for that encapsulates the first value operator and then the second, and then we end the program with an output that takes the object and then formats it like 235 on one line plus 52 on the next. This is just high levels.
Yeah, no, I like where your head's at. So for this one here, and then, okay, wow, okay. So there's quite a few things here. So they have a whole test module here. So it looks like they fire off a bunch of tests here. I wonder if I could run this one here. Let me try this. So it's just, I'm just trying to figure out how they do this project here. So it looks like it's just running the main, if I'm reading this correctly. And the main just does, it imports this module here, which we have to write up. I figured this is where we're going to put all our code. So the main imports that, and then it calls it. So it sends the problems. Right? I wonder how this is called though. Does it talk about that at all? The test? Here we go. The test unit for this project is in test module. We are running a test from the test module in main for your convenience. The test will run automatically whenever you hit the run button. Alternatively, you may run the test by inputting PyTest in the console. How does it do it automatically? Oh, there it is right there. It's from PyTest. From PyTest import. And then they said you could just do this. PyTest. Okay, wow. So they give you all the pieces to test this out. So if our code is correct, then it should pass all these tests here. Jesus, jeepers creepers. So how how motivated is everybody? Do you want to call it a night, or do you want to try to hack up a rough draft of this?
I think there's a lot to it, but actually it's interesting with the test constraints we need to meet. It's like each question, like you have to make sure, say if you have 5 questions in total.
Yeah.
checking
Test.
the lines, you need to make sure, like, I guess when you're printing it out, you need to make sure that you have question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the first operand, all spaced out appropriately, because that seems to be important in the tests for the layout. And then for the second one, it's making sure the operator's in the right spot, and then the supplement. But then making sure that the width of everything is appropriate, right? So like, I guess if you have like 10,000 something, you need to make sure that you have.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So
Well,
what is it? Is that 3 spaces between questions?
Sorry.
Right aligned text.
So make sure everybody, I hope you're on your own computer when we're on the Learn Scientific Coding with Python project here. That way you're not relying on my screen here. So it's at the very bottom here. Yeah. So we gotta complete that project here. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects we gotta do. So that's the first project. The second project is the calculator, which I assume is no walk in the park either. This, oh, there we go again. Come on. Write a function named add time. This takes 2 required parameters and 1 optional parameter. The start time in the 12-hour clock format ending in AM or PM, a duration time that indicates the number of hours or minutes, and optional a starting day or week, case sensitive. So for example, add time 3 p.m., 3:10, it returns 6:10 p.m. Or you could say Monday. So 11:30 a.m. plus 2 hours and 32 minutes. It'll be 2 p.m. Monday. So that's kind of cool. It's a handy little. Look at this thing. Add time Tuesday. So that's interesting. So if it's almost midnight on Tuesday and you add 24 hours and 20 minutes, you'll end up with Thursday, 2 days later. And then this one, geez Louise. So this is 205 minutes, or is that 205 hours? I assume it's 205 hours. It tells you that it's 9 days later. Yikes. So it's kind of the same format as far as
I like how they've introduced the Tuesday with the spelling. It kind of shows you, especially with scientific programming, sometimes your data is crap and you have to deal with it.
So again, here's a bunch of tests here. So I think it's the same thing. What do they say? Testing. The test units for this project are in test module. We've imported the test from test module to main for your convenience. The test will run automatically whenever you hit run. So let's hit run. So boom, it's not defined. So then again, we'd have to put the code in this file here. This is where our code would go. Well, I'm going to say that this is homework for everybody. maybe next meeting we can dedicate just to a project. I know we went through some kind of it was fun. It was fun. It was like doing a quiz night or like a trivia night. And Chris, I think you get the trophy tonight for some of those guesses, especially that.
Oh man, soup. Beautiful soup. My goodness, that was like a gut shot. So how did that even?
So I actually, okay, Emily, well, we're going to wrap this up soon. So I just, we have everyone here.
I was just referring to, like, I'm sorry. It was just like saying soup. Yeah.
Yeah, you want soup? I want beautiful soup. Next month, the last Friday is New Year's Eve, and I don't suspect any of you want to literally spend time talking about code on New Year's Eve. I know I'd get in trouble if I attempted that with my family. So do you guys want to meet a week earlier on the 20th? Well, no, that's Christmas Eve. That doesn't work either. Do we just want to skip December and maybe meet up in January? Give you guys some time to do the homework. What are your thoughts? Or could we do it another night on December? Like, what's the thinking on? All
Yeah,
right,
so Friday's upcoming in December would, unless it's like, like 2 weeks from now, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So it need to be like either earlier in January or, same January cadence. I mean, other nights might sort of have the same problems the Friday too. So I don't know.
All right, so let's just January 7th. Yeah, I'm into that. Do you guys want to do January 7th?
Yeah, that seems
Okay.
good.
Awesome. Okay, gang. Well, thanks for a fun evening. It's always these to-do lists like, oh, I'm gonna learn Python one day, but it's until we actually lock in, some actual dedicated time. And so this was a fun way to get through some of this stuff. So,
and if you want some, I remember doing some Python stuff on Kaggle. Have you heard of that?
I did years ago. Yeah, when I played around with data science.
Yeah, it's all no, it's more into the scientific libraries and stuff. It's not strictly the Python stuff, but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I was going to say, so whoever want to leave, they can. But I do have a question which is not related to Python, so that's why I didn't want to keep people if
No, shoot away. Yeah,
so I was wondering. So anyone can build APIs, but how easy or difficult is it to sell APIs?
To sell APIs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know.
It's a product. It's probably is as hard as to sell anything. Like a friend of mine is actually working on an API that wraps like a math editor, right? So selling that is incredibly hard because people don't necessarily appreciate math.
I was wondering because like some people do PHP, and for PHP they do WordPress template, and then they sell it for like 100 to 500, and you can use it like you use template for WordPress. And I was wondering because APIs is a little bit works a little bit with data, so I was wondering, do you need to have a permit? Do you need to have like stuff like that? Like some people have keys. So
no, what do you mean by permit and all that stuff?
So because if I want to sell template on for WordPress, I can just go on a website and upload it, and people can download my template, and I'm paid for it as a passive income. But because API, I'm dealing with data, I was wondering if they're legal, if you can put it like that, restriction.
No, I mean, I know a couple. They specifically made an API to go against to Google Maps, and I forget. I don't know if it was a podcast. It was actually the podcast Indie Hacker or Indie Developer. I forget the actual podcast name, but I listened to a few episodes, and it was exactly that. She said her and her husband, they would just kind of make a little side business, and it took off, and they were really surprised. And part of the key, they said, is that they themselves had a need to fill, and that need was they wanted a map in their application, but they didn't want to pay the $1,000 to Google or whatever the BS was. So they basically set up an alternative solution, and they were charging people just to cover the cost of like the server and keep it up and running. And it actually, because there was such a demand, it took off. And they're like, oh damn, we got something. So yeah, I mean, you got to do your research out there. If you're looking at the quick buck, chances are somebody's already out there trying to to get that market. So yeah, try to think of something that you need personally. One API that I know, what's Sean saying? Good idea. People can build and sell web scrapers. Fiverr, yep. Fiverr is definitely a website. You could check that.
That's sick.
Oh, somebody's trying to call me here. Sorry. Oh, through the headphones. Yeah, Yelp is another API. So to use their API, I suspect you would have to, pay a price and that. So that kind of gives you an idea. Like, I mean, you could do like a mom and pop API that was useful for people, or you can go all the way up to Yelp level, right? Where you're selling.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. Yeah.
And you could do is like, if I was going to make full disclosure, I was trying to make an IP one day, and I did the typical thing. I bought the URL. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. And then I didn't do anything. And the API idea I was thinking of was something like as big as. So I was thinking, would it be neat if you gave an API either a weight or a dimension, and they gave you a comparison. So you said, what's as big as this? And they said, you're looking at a small dolphin, or you're looking at a Winnebago or something. I thought that'd be a kind of a cute API, right? And I wasn't going to charge it. It was just going to be like something fun to do. I haven't made it yet, but I intend to one day. But if I was going to make another API for like Barrie, for example, the city that we live in, I would like, what's all the cool spots in Barrie? Like, what's the hidden gems that nobody knows about? Make a database, and then, make it accessible.
And then
So,
I guess that from an API, you can wrap other APIs with functionality that you need, right? So I guess if you imagine just you set up an API that uses like a Twilio or whatever to like send out a text message, or give somebody a call and then integrate a text to speech thing, right? And then actually your API sends joke calls to people using text to speech. I mean, it could be abused like crazy, but it's wrapping existing functionality out there to do something.
That's interesting.
Mash it up, be creative. Maybe that's the.
But as far as pricing, I don't know. I don't know what the demand or the market is. I mean,
mainly looking at side hustle. Like I know some people do, like I said, templates, website templates. Some people do like what Sean said, web scrapers. Some people do APIs, just like a side hustle, passive income kind of thing.
I've seen people set up like a SendGrid account, and then basically do their grow your own email marketing, right? As long as you're covering your Amazon Web Service cost or your SendGrid or whatever you're using, then it's great. Just your business turns into reselling Amazon services. Put a little bit of a markup in there. You've just made it a little bit easier. Actually, text to speech, I've seen people basically just wrap around like Amazon Poly, and then they just have a different pricing model for it, and it works for them.
Amazon Web Services is so complex that I'm surprised like MongoDB when we played around with MongoDB there, you're essentially setting up on a cloud service, but they just provide a different UI, right? It's not like, I don't know, when you look at it, like, well, I could probably do this myself, but it would be, you'd have to read the documentation, and yeah, you're right. If you can make something easier for somebody to use, they'll use it, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, Amazon Poly is the Amazon's version of text to speech, right? So, and I've seen a couple companies, and I was searching. Okay, I want to find some text to speech because I had a need, right? And then, wow, they're using the same voices as Amazon. What's gives? Basically, what they do is they just wrap it. They give you a few free, and then if you sign up with them, you get like it. I think it's like $20 a month or whatever. And yet the cost that you're probably going to incur through like the transaction, these guys are coming out ahead. It's just a different pricing. They're just presenting a different pricing model. It was
Pipe.org. Oh, what the check that out.
Yeah. The thing though is like Amazon has the AI models backing up their text to speech, and they have a lot of them. Say that Google has their own variation, and of course Microsoft does. And the cool thing is, of course, voice cloning, which is ridiculous. You know, like you want a Colonel Sanders voice with the accent. That's what these guys are doing now with the with like deep fakes and deep learning, and it's just ridiculous. You know,
that's fun. That's
Yeah.
fun. All right, gang. Well, thanks for a fun evening. I hope you have a good weekend, and I guess I'm definitely gonna scribble down January 7th. If that works for everybody, I'll see you next year. So if I'm not talking to any of you, happy holidays, happy New Year,
happy holidays.
Hope you get through this year in one piece. We're at the finish line, so to speak. So, but yeah, thanks again, everybody, for it was fun.
Take care.
Be well.
Take care.
Thank you.
Talk to you.